So, in true Aquarian fashion, I suddenly want to talk about Uranus and its home sign of Aquarius. There's a significant portion of the Gen Z people who have this signature. Go check your chart. And what I want to talk about specifically is this idea. I posted it in my posts on the community page of my channel, Brightside Astrology here. If you don't know me, my name is Julianne. Hi, I'm an astrologer, and I'm also a painter. This idea of Uranus in its own sign of Aquarius, which is a birth chart signature that many of us have on the Earth right now, in the context of Pluto being in the sign of Aquarius. Why am I putting these together? Well, Pluto in Aquarius is essentially breaking down the paradigm of what a human is. And those of us with Uranus in its home sign of Aquarius are kind of antenna for what you could call a very pure Aquarian signature. Pluto is what is pushing that signature to its edge right now. And the thought that has been coming to me is that it's system failure, system failure, system failure, because we each keep trying to push further into consciousness or push further into non-duality, which is honestly, these are Aquarian topics to me. It's an attempt to explain, to understand the horizon's edge, which is an Aquarian signature, everything that's coming down from on high, and everything that we are kind of in our studios or off in a secluded place or even with a hive mind. I know that the secluded place is more of a 12th house Pisces signature, but there's some symbiosis for me there. In any case, I'm getting off track. What I want to say here is that those of us with Uranus in the sign of Aquarius, maybe we've reached like system failure because Uranus in its own sign wants to revolutionize its own home. And how do you do that without actually just stepping back and realizing that you are consciousness itself? And that's kind of the end game. You are consciousness itself. What do you do with that end game of consciousness itself? What do we do when we are helping people? Those of us with Uranus and Aquarius, those of us who understand the brain through studies, or those of us who have delved deeply into meditation practices, or those of us who are expert coders. Okay, all of this again, Uranus and Aquarius, the Gen Z generation, super literate with technology, super able to learn these technological things very quickly, a very sharp mind, sharp thinking. Okay, there's so many more correlations I can make. You can probably help me do that in the comments below, but I'm just trying to weave some things together here that I've just kind of shot down from within me. Um, and I think the essential teaching, the essential point here is that there's no end to any one signature. While Uranus is at home in its sign of Aquarius, with that reference point of we are consciousness itself, what do you do? What do you tell someone? How do you help yourself? How does that help you forgive yourself more deeply? And I think the answer is that you just can trust yourself more because there isn't anything that you actually have to do with the Uranus and Aquarius signature. And as a corollary with Pluto in Aquarius, we think that we have to dig so deep into consciousness. Pluto is a digging deep signature, Aquarius being the signature of consciousness itself and the divine algorithm, the mind of God. Pluto being there, we think we have to dig so deep in to find that. But in reality, what we have to do with Pluto is just recognize that this Aquarian piece is our source of power. It is our own personal generator, if you will, that is honestly amoral. That's the most difficult thing about Pluto, I think, to express and to explain about this whole Earth that we are living in is that the truth is nature is amoral. You're not going to be rewarded for doing the right thing. You're going to be rewarded, let's say, in a earthly sense by having conviction in what you do and understanding your own locus of power is within yourself. I think the Uranus in Aquarius generation has that insight and understanding that we are all just mind and that we are very similar to computers in our programming, okay? And so, what again that is helping us to do is to forgive ourselves even more, which in turn should allow ourselves to believe in ourselves even more instead of thinking that we are climbing a moral ladder, that we are doing things right, that we deserve anything. The more important part is to fill out your space, to live your life, to take up your own space and to believe in yourself and to have conviction and move forward. Of course, the Saturn and Aries transit that we're having is really bolstering that whole thematic right now. So that's kind of the message that I wanted to get across, that your conviction in self and your belief in your faith is such a key component of how you're going to be able to get beyond whatever you're stuck on right now, whatever part of life seems challenging, maybe a little bit too intimate, a little bit too vulnerable, because it's based on, or rather, it depends on you being able to stick up for a certain perspective that you have, which so often will fall back onto a moral stance, for which you could be canceled, right? For which you could be like totally cast out from your community. And that seems as though it might be the worst thing possible with the Uranus and Aquarius signature, and any strong Uranus or Aquarius signatures like we're having with Pluto and Aquarius. That fear of being cast out is so real and so strong. We see that happening in real time with migration changes, with the changes of globalization. And so again, the push there is to recognize that you are you everywhere. You carry your tribe and your family, even within your own brain, within your own consciousness. Uranus and Gemini is helping us to realize that we have the capacity to create a whole world, create a whole language for ourselves instantaneously that will allow us to recreate our environment so beautifully, like wisps of air that carry the code of life within it. You know, Uranus is that revolutionizer, and right now it's in Gemini, which is just about thinking and about words. And so, if you can think it, if you can speak it, if you can communicate it, you truly can build it. And you have to just believe in yourself. And I know this is very common and annoying um, advice, but the Uranian impulse to revolutionize, which I think each of us will be walking into further and further as Pluto gets further and further into Aquarius here, what it means to revolutionize the world looks different for each of us, right? With Uranus and Capricorn, that means something different. With Uranus and Sag, that means something different already. So what I'm speaking to here is that just specific Uranus and Aquarius element here. So check in your chart if you have Uranus in Aquarius and think about your fluency of technology, of internet. Think of how maybe you're very interested in consciousness from a more detached perspective. Does that play a role in your life right now? Because I think it can, and maybe it should. Pluto transiting over a natal Uranus, which will happen for the entire generation of people with Uranus in Aquarius, Pluto will put your Uranus to the test. Pluto will put your revolutionizing power to the test. Pluto wants you to revolutionize how you know how to revolutionize, which is a very complicated thing, but all it really means is that take a step back and watch what comes in. Like, think that you can create a vacuum and then just see what you are always connected to. Always, 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 always. And in the absence of anything, who are you still? Because that's the only thing you need to be able to support and forgive and move forward and grow with like so much kindness and happiness and joy. So I hope this was helpful, super spontaneous of me. Let me know what you think. Please check out my new website. It's my full name, Julianne Patricia Thompson, Thompson without a P at or .cargo.site. Link should be in the description below. I offer obviously one-on-one sessions. I'd love to see you and talk to you if you have this Uranus in Aquarius signature, or really any Uranus signature, or really any Aquarian signature right now, because you are really the site of where consciousness is transforming itself, and you are likely a leader in some ways. But this signature right now is that we are all kind of struggling to really puff out into the fullness of who we are and that power of consciousness. So I'd love to talk to you about that as it's showing up in your own natal chart, purely as a corollary for just just hearing you and reflecting back to what you probably already know about yourself. I also do group readings, which are wonderful ways to just have a more slow entry point into astrology and the way that I practice astrology. So you can check those out. I have one final workshop coming up twice in May, which is specifically for artists. I'm a painter and I weave my painting practice with my astrological practice. And so if you'd like to come learn about how I do that and see how it's might make some space for you in your life and practice, do come and join me. Check it out. Let me know what you think. So much love for you and bye for now.